Long time no see, my loves. I've been so busy lately, but now I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. I was secretly happy that Duke DuBois was so understanding and didn't cross-examine me. But then he buried his face in his hands and sighed heavily. After what happened to Caradil, a close friend of mine, I started hating the royal family. I threw myself into seeking revenge, and that's how I got caught up in the Academy's schemes. I knew a little about this, but the Duke, the victim of the headmaster's plot, was sharing more details, like a confession. Maybe he wanted to pour out all his bitterness to someone who could help him, like me, and also like the headmaster. At first, I helped that headmaster guy because I thought we had the same goal, but his plan became increasingly cruel, crossing all moral lines. So, I stopped helping him. I remembered what Yves had said to Cory in my dream. It sent a chill down my spine, realizing the scary correlation between the dream and reality. Once I stepped away, I saw everything clearly. I realized I was too busy with work and neglected my family, especially Cory. I failed that boy. The Duke showed remorse. He clasped his hands tightly, his face full of agony. So this was why Cory hadn't received affection from his family all these years. Just as Dream Cory said, they were too busy to care about him. I'm talking about things that are too private, aren't I? The Duke muttered. I just smiled and said it was fine. He smiled back and continued. Anyway, I'm quite sure the attack was connected to the headmaster. You're studying at that academy, so please be careful until everything is clear. I nodded. Graduating is still my top priority. No matter what the headmaster's schemes are, I have to survive until I become a rich lady, hee hee. After I promised to be careful, the Duke gave me a coin with the Dubois family crest, an intricate magic circle. He explained that with it, I could borrow the power of the Dubois family whenever needed. Gaining a powerful backer, I couldn't hide my delight. The Duke told me to prepare myself for visitors and left. While I was still confused about what was happening, I heard hurried footsteps coming my way. Shushu, shoo-shoo. The door is burstly opened, and Hestia rushed in first, her face stained with tears and snot. She hugged me tightly, sobbing as if I had transmigrated again or something. Shoo-shoo, I was so scared. Why are you always so reckless? I hate you. What would I do if something happened to you? I quickly wiped Hestia's tears and snot, then hugged her back. She cried so hard my shoulder was soaked. Shoo-shoo, are you really okay? Hestia asked. Yeah, Duke Blanche healed me completely. Thank goodness. Hestia sighed with relief, resting her ear against my heart. Beat it, a familiar cursing voice roared. Swanhaden appeared, with a deep slipper mark on the back of his shirt from Hestia. He used a magical spell to assist Hestia's digestion, making her clutch her stomach and bolt out of the room. I thought these two had a tearful moment in the original story, but now Swanhaden wasn't worried about Hestia at all, he was only focused on me. His face was a mess of mixed emotions. It was hard to distinguish between Dream Swan and real-life Swan. Hoo-hoo shoo-shoo, he called my name, his voice trembling, then slowly approached. He stared at my hand and pulled out a bunch of rings, putting them on both my hands. This one is in case you choke while eating. He put a ring on my pinky finger. This one is for when you overuse your magic. He put the next one on my ring finger. And this one is for when you roll off the bed in your sleep. His voice trembled more and more. The entire time I was on the battlefield, I endured it all by thinking of you. I imagined a future where I lived peacefully with you. That was my motivation to get through the pain every day. But Swanhaden's voice was full of despair. Seeing you like that, lying motionless, your arm and neck torn, all I could do was heal you. He gripped the blanket tightly. If you were gone, his voice became a whisper. He placed my hand on his head and buried his tear-stained face in the blanket. Close your eyes and kiss your ear. That's probably what he needs now. Who can blame him when he's as cute as an angel? This thought is internal and not spoken aloud. I felt a little confused that Swanhaden, whom I thought wasn't close to me, was so worried. Maybe he was just trying to be tough on the outside, hee hee. Suddenly, Yves appeared, dismissing Swan like a parent confiscating a phone for missing curfew. Right after Yves was about to start patting my head, Hylee entered. He was breathing heavily, covered in monster dust. Hylee gifted me a sky blue Ryan flower, a rare herb with healing properties that he had found growing by the roadside. He ordered me to eat it quickly and get well soon so we could duel. I felt a bit awkward having so many visitors as if I had saved someone and they were all crying. I secretly thought maybe I should go out to clear my head. Wait, where was Cory? When Hestia returned from the restroom, I suddenly realized someone was missing. Hestia, where's Cory? This mansion belongs to the DuBois family, so Cory must be here somewhere. Cory? He definitely came in with me. Where did he go? Hestia tilted her head in confusion. While everyone was asking where I went, I had to avoid them and muttered that I couldn't even go to the bathroom. I wandered through the DuBois mansion's hallway and found him faster than I expected. He was standing by a window, looking outside. I called his name, but he didn't turn around. You okay, bro? I stepped closer and looked directly at Cory's face. Tears were streaming down, even though he tried to wipe them away. Cory's dark circled eyes stared at me. He looked at me for a moment, glanced away, and then looked back at me. Ah, Shushu, what are you doing out here? So reckless, he tried to sound stable, but I clearly saw his red, teary eyes, and he was still denying it. Was he too worried and guilty to face me? When I hit a nerve, he immediately turned into a crying 3-year-old. He opened his arms and hugged me tightly. I let him. Thank you. After a long silence, he finally spoke, his voice trembling and full of emotion. Then he buried his face in my shoulder. I'm sorry, Cory said, hugging me for a long time, his hands shaking slightly. I could hear his heart pounding fast and anxiously. I gently patted Cory's back, just like he used to do for me when I was sad. Finally, he hugged me one more time before letting go, his face still etched with sorrow. Cory took my hand. Follow me. He led me into his room. Ah, Cory's room. The room looked like a larger version of the dormitory room. Walls, ceiling, and every empty space were covered with magic equipment and accessories. Magic circles were drawn all over the floor and ceiling. Books and papers cluttered the bed, and mathematical formulas were scribbled on the floor in chalk. I wondered how Cory could sleep in such an environment, but I guess he could sleep anywhere. Cory stood in the middle of the room, looking up at the ceiling. Right above his head was a small, rectangular hatch. Let me. He picked me up and hovered towards the ceiling door. Carefully, he pushed the door open with one hand. Dust fell, and Cory hugged me tighter to shield me before turning back, putting his arm around my waist, and helping me step inside. Inside, I found a small attic. The ceiling was low, so I had to duck. Before my eyes was a chaotic sight. Countless documents, along with many related photos and bits of information, were crisscrossing on an investigation board plastered on the wall. All of it was Cory's own work. It looked truly obsessive. Cory stepped in after me. He took out a sparkling blue pendant and a red magic stone from a magic wand. He used the magic from the two stones to break them down without damaging the magic circle. Cory let the two magic circles hover in the air, then asked me for my orange earring. I took off my earring and gave it to Cory. He took the orange earring he had given me a long time ago and nested both the blue and red magic circles into it. It was then that I clearly saw the original magic circle Cory had put in my earring. It turned out to be related to time. Although different from the time magic circle outside the DuBois mansion, the structure was similar. I didn't know what that time magic was, but the fact that he had put such a circle into my earring since the first year of school shocked me greatly. And now, he added offensive and defensive magic. The red magic was of the hell type, the pinnacle of offensive magic, capable of leveling an entire city. The blue magic was the strongest defensive type, teched specifically to counter hell type magic. Oh, peak tier, this orange earring is now truly a national treasure. Cory sighed with relief upon finishing nesting the magic into the earring. He turned back and gave it to me with a smile. I thanked him for the thoughtful gift. The air grew warmer when he placed his large hands on my two hands holding the earrings and instructed me to keep them close. Although I knew this was to protect my life, the way he looked at me made it feel like a token of eternal love or something. I was scared and had to pull away. This kid's actions are too much for my heart. If anything happens now, I don't know what I'd do, so first, I have to make sure I don't cause any more trouble and the magic in these earrings isn't activated. Sis. Seeing her run in video, who skipped class to visit, I couldn't help but think, these kids are really bold skipping school. As soon as I woke up, I wanted to leave the DuBois manor immediately. I was worried about missing classes and didn't want to trouble the legitimate and illegitimate siblings any further. Cory's parents insisted I stay and rest more, but I declined. I promised to visit often with Cory and little V, then called a carriage back to the academy. Before leaving, I remembered one thing and asked the Duke, Duke, what is the effect of the time magic circle in the garden? It was the circle I had noticed while passing the mansion. When he heard my question, the Duke furrowed his brow and thought, that circle has been passed down by our ancestors, so I'm not entirely sure. The formula is so complex that it remains a mystery even to our entire family. I apologize, but I cannot answer. So, has it never been activated before? I asked further. That's right. I thanked him and got into the carriage back to school. On the way, I kept thinking about that time circle. Although incomplete, the fact that the DuBois family possessed such high-level magic was enough to impress me. I told myself I'd research more when Cory gave me a proper tour. Back at school, everything seemed peaceful. Except for everyone treating me like fragile glass, things had returned to normal, except for Cory. Cory has changed a lot lately. He's no longer carefree, but seems more serious and stressed. Normally, when I came to the club room, Cory would be sleeping, floating in the air eating snacks, or researching monsters. No matter what he was doing, he always welcomed me warmly. But lately, Cory just focuses on documents, his face constantly strained. Hi Cory, I spoke up. He kept his eyes glued to the papers, taking a long time to reply. When Cory is focused, he seems not to hear anything. Concentration is good, but if it affects his health, it's not okay. The dark circles under his eyes were getting worse, and his sharp blue eyes were even more intense. He wasn't eating or sleeping, just concentrating on research. He was strangely sad and often sighed, pulling at his hair in frustration. I worried. Are you okay? Take a break. Ah, yeah, Cory replied, his eyes still fixed on the documents. Curious, I secretly glanced at the documents he was reading. Just as I suspected, it was about the attack. He even had books on dark magic for reference, researching the magic on my hand. I was worried Cory would sink into sorrow and vengeance again like in the dream. Although it wasn't that serious yet, seeing Cory so stressed didn't make me happy. I couldn't say anything, so I just quietly took a book on dark magic and started reading. I borrowed a few more books, loaded them onto a cart, and took them back to the dorm. Lying on my bed, I made a cup of hot milk, took some cookies, and started reading the thickest book. I skimmed through the parts one already knew, focusing on the new sections. There was so much I wanted to know about the world I once thought was just a dream. I read, normal magic, white magic, and dark magic all have higher levels. Dark magic is associated with space, white magic with movement, and normal magic with time. Another interesting detail from this ancient book: when the three highest levels of magic are combined, one can shift to a specific dimension and time. The place I went to in my dream wasn't exactly the original story, but seemed like a world altered by different decisions. Perhaps when I fainted, my consciousness shifted there. So, was Swan in that world using white magic the result of that combination, bringing me back? Maybe my body couldn't fully shift because I drew the circle too quickly, which is why Swanhaden in that world couldn't complete the spell either. There is an entity called a god who can manage life and death through white and dark magic. If they wish, they can place a soul from another dimension into another body. It sounds like mythology, but I believe it to be true. I closed the book, frowning. God-like entities. Once, I accidentally ran into Yves and Cory talking. Remembering what happened in the dream, I lingered and secretly crept closer to the eavesdrop. After waking up, I realized the dream Yves was truly trashy bad boy material. He had darkened Cory in the original story, making me constantly think about their relationship in this world. When I was about to approach Cory with a bunch of snacks, I overheard their conversation. Cory asked Yves about what he found out when infiltrating the royal palace. I infiltrated the royal palace multiple times because I thought it was related to dark magic, but I didn't find out much. Yves said, I was a bit touched that Yves did that for me. However, the magic seal on Shushu's hand was not related to the royal family. Additionally, Yves found out that even the royals are very wary of the academy headmaster. Cory mumbled, asking if they were enemies, but Yves denied it. Both sides are just cautious of each other, and the headmaster remains an unknown factor to the royal family. So, he plans to run for student council president to find out more. I was utterly shocked that this intention was identical to my imagined original Yves. Yves advised Cory to let go of the heavy burden he was carrying. You're really on edge these days. Looking at you is kind of like looking at my past self, Yves said with a forced smile. What? Cory asked, bewildered. Yves explained that revenge is good, but the present is more important, as Cory's family is safe, and the assassin guild has been wiped out after the attack. I'll find out who was behind your family's attack. Also, leave Shushu's dark magic incident to me. He told Cory to eat and get some sleep because Shushu is worried about you. After Yves and Cory finished their conversation, Yves surprised me when I was hiding behind a tree. Shushu, are you concerned? What's wrong? Yves asked with a totally villainous smirk. No way, I awkwardly replied to end the conversation. Weren't you very curious about what I just told Cory? He guessed right, making me reconsider my conditioned reflex. He fell silent for a moment, then his voice was full of pitifulness. I stayed in the royal palace until right before you woke up. I went to investigate because I thought one of the royals had used dark magic on you, but it wasn't the case, Yves said with disappointment. He revealed that he only found out the truth about the royal heirloom, a black muscular mass, emitting infinite dark magic. He pulled down his glove when I asked if he might have been infected by that darkness after coming into contact with such immense magic. His gaze became stranger and stranger. The remaining attackers on Cory's family had been dealt with. The mastermind must have struggled greatly to hide, just like his father. Thanks to that, the investigation has been completely stalled. This is the first time I've ever felt so powerless and lost. I was so scared. Very, very scared. Help me keep being a good person, shoo-shoo. His words felt like a prayer. I looked at his right arm. It was strangely dark. I could feel the dark magic flowing in it. Clearly, he was injured while investigating but still managed to escape. As expected of the final survivor of the weak slave cleansing regime of the Lunasha merchant clan. I touched his injury, and immediately, the dark magic from his arm transferred into my body and was purified. He flinched, snapping out of his sentimental moment. What are you doing to me? I didn't do anything, did I? I had to explain that I could purify the dark magic on his arm, but he still insisted that I was in recovery, so even if nothing happened, I shouldn't do such things because there would definitely be side effects. I saw he was about to leave after I surprised him, so I quickly asked about his plan to run for student council president. He replied that the information was accurate, and he thought it was a more effective way to get useful information. Hearing that made me shiver. I had to remind him about his crazy tendency in the original story to harm people whenever he got bored. He looked at me with an existential look, like, I'm too busy to be bored, kid. I was surprised and smiled. Is that so? Then what are your hobbies? Well, shopping for my pet dog, buying shoo-shoo cosplay outfits, sparkly jewelry, etc., etc. Approved, I said, visibly relieved. Yves, even if life is boring, don't do anything weird, okay? Just being the current you is enough to make me happy. He was silently surprised by my confession. Oh, and thank you for helping Cory. Before I finished, he did the weirdest thing I had ever seen. He pressed me against the tree trunk with his 1.8-meter height, as if about to collapse on me, and whispered, Don't worry, little one. As long as you're by my side, I won't be bored. Huh? As long as you're here, I won't change, okay? His refined face now looked incredibly pathetic. I couldn't believe the scene before me. He concluded with, So, please stay with me so I can be a good person, okay, my dear. Then his mischievous hand lifted my chin as if he was about to do something. I sensed an unusual intensity in his eyes. Screw it, I thought, I'm single, so I'll just close my eyes and enjoy it. Why keep avoiding it when the fans could finally witness this moment? No, like a well-educated Korean drama male lead, he stopped at the right moment and casually said he was used to kissing the dog, shoo-shoo, and the human version was just a mistake. Hey, stop talking nonsense. Do you want me to bite your head off? I was furious. He then teased me further, asking if I was jealous of the dog, making me feel like it was a total bait and switch, and I stormed off. Only a dog would love you. He smiled happily. Oh my god, I almost ended the story right there because of myself. I have to be more careful now, or the author might kill me off, hee hee.